How you doing, people? Welcome back to another ESO build video. Today is a brand new update for the Off Balance Templar. Ironically, however, one of the most balanced builds you will ever play. This has single target damage, area of effect damage, self-sustainability, survivability, the lot. Everything you need in one tidy package, close range and ranged for easy content or really hard stuff. Anything you want to throw at it, it can do. So if you want to see some more of this, stay tuned, it's coming right up. So first of all, of course, we're going to go into the stats. Now, bear in mind, while this is designed to apply off balance to your group, there are many options to this, so things may vary depending on you as a player and your group. But our stats are relatively the same regardless. So at the moment, we are 64 points into max magicka, no points into health or stamina. That's a choice you can make. If you want to change it, then go for it, but you don't really need to. We're on 35.1k max magicka, 23.7k max health, and 14.1k max stamina. That's pretty good across the board. Decent resource pool for our dodge and block and CC stuff. Really good health and enough to put out damage as well for our Magicka bar. Now, recovery-wise, we're sitting on hang on, that went off. We're sitting on 913 Magicka recovery alongside almost 400 health recovery and 700 stam recovery. Again, decent stam pool and good recovery. In CC situations, we're pretty much okay. 5k weapon damage almost at the moment. Sorry, spell damage. And that will actually go a lot higher. In content, depending on your buffs and bonuses, that can go in excess of about 8k. But again, that depends on your bonuses in your group and what you have to hand, whether your glyph is firing or not, which it should be. Resistance-wise, we're sitting on 21.1k and 18.9. That also doesn't involve a minor resistance bonus, which you can get from your groups. You can go to about 24. And we're on 51.7% crit. We'll go up to 57% if you have a sorcerer in your group providing minor prophecy. Spell pen is actually very good. And across the board, the way that the build is designed, once you get into content, all you really need is Major Breach, Minor Breach, and Alkosh, and you're actually done. You don't need anything else. Now, we're obviously going with a Thief Munderstone for the extra crit chance, and we're using flat health and Magicka food. That actually is 5.3k max health and almost 5k max Magicka. It doesn't say there because it's a bug. It's been there forever. But that is what you need all the time. If you do find that your recovery is dipping a little bit in some situations where your group maybe not providing enough buffs for you to constantly maintain your resources, then of course you can swap that for the gold stuff, the citrus fillet stuff. That will cost you a lot of money. It's gold, but it will also give you a good amount of health and magicka at the same time as giving you health and magicka recovery. That will make you squishier. I don't recommend it for all content, but if you find you're struggling, use that. I do not recommend tri-stat food. You will dip health, you'll dip magic for the sake of gaining stamina. You'll be squishier, you'll do less damage, and the only thing you'll have is a bigger stam bar. I mean, if that's what you're struggling with overall, then you're probably going to be dead anyway. You're just going to dodge roll too many times, and you're going to lose the pool that you've gained. I don't recommend tri-stat food. Now, of course, based on how it's set up, if you're on a single target boss fight, you can maintain throughout indefinitely with your own resource management. You might need to heavy attack occasionally, but most situations you'll be fine. If you're in a big pool where there's loads and loads of enemies, or just a boss with a couple of adds, you are not going to run out. So flat food all day long. Now, we're going to go straight into the gear, so this starts to make some sense, and then we're going to go into the skills afterwards, so if you want to skip that stuff, it's up to you. Here we go. So we're going to show you the more optimized version of the build if we're considering single target, but that varies, because there are situations where the other setup will do more. That I'm going to get to in a moment. So first of all, you want overwhelming on the front bar. Now, you can go with dual wield if you prefer. Dual wield will mean that you have to stay close range all the time, and when you're not close range, you're going to have to rely on your back bar to allow yourself to still maintain ticks of the set that we're using. If you don't do that, you're going to lose your set procs, and that will not benefit you at all. Now, overwhelming, generally, you need to be fairly close, but if you use a class ability, you will shock up to 6 enemies around you constantly every 1 second, doing shock damage, which, yes, can contribute towards concussion for off balance if that's what you're doing, and it will give you magicka back for each target hit. So your sustainability is huge. You've also got some spell damage bonuses and some magicka bonuses as well, which is quite helpful. We're using a poison glyph on the front bar with precise on purpose because we already have the burn and status effect quite a lot, so now we can benefit from the poison status effect as well. We can double stack them. The back bar is a Maelstrom lightning staff or flame staff. Now here are the variations and why. The lightning staff, if you are the one supplying off balance, you will be able to do that consistently because you've got lots of shock damage going on anyway from this particular wall if you're using a lightning version, and of course you're overwhelming. That does have a heightened chance of applying a concussion status effect, and if you do that inside lightning, you will cause enemies to go off balance. It's quite easy to do, and you can also help your group furthermore by using the Alhambras set if you prefer over Zahn. Now, again, these are all if you are applying off balance. Lightning Staff on the back, Alambris on the monster set. If you're not supplying off balance and somebody else is already doing that for you, then of course take advantage of the Maelstrom Flame Staff and use the Zaan monster helmet. That way you'll have more fire, you'll use burning, and you can get more damage out of it. Not a huge amount, but you will get some more. This weapon in particular, by the way, does come from the Maelstrom Arena. No, you do not need to go on to Veteran to acquire it. You can get it on normal. The difference is the penetration bonus, which, by the way, we don't actually need. It will only benefit you on the back bar anyway, and we are already at cap if you have minor and major breach and Alkosh in the group anyway. It's not going to make a difference. It's nice while it's there if you don't have the buff, but you're not going to be on the back bar for long. So just go into normal, get the regular version, and put a weapon and spell damage glyph on the back. Now, just to recap over the front bar weapon, we have deliberately gone with the Lightning Staff. That was already a choice and has always been on the build throughout over the last 6 years, but Lightning Staves were changed recently to improve certain types of damage, which I'll explain in the passives, so this has become very, very useful. It was nice in the past, but now it equals the damage of the dual wield. Now, the dual wield. If you choose to go dual wield, you now lack the ability to have a ranged heavy attack on that bar. You lack the ability to get splash damage and stuff from that particular weapon, but you do have the benefit of 2 glyphs now, so you can use both fire and poison. Arguably, yes, of course, you've got loads of flame damage anyway from Zaan and stuff, and you can constantly proc burn them, but if there's gaps, this will now fill that. Also, precise and charge to heighten the status effect chances of you applying concussed if you were using the off balance for the back bar lightning staff. So these all kind of line up together. Now, the benefit to this is that if you do use this particular weapon type, you can heavy attack and get stamina back in a jam. So if you are in trouble, this helps. You don't have that benefit with the lightning staff. But here is the next problem. We are using Reliquin for single target. Now, you can go in normal to get this. You don't need the perfected version because the perfected version gives you stamina as an extra bonus. You don't need it. You could argue it's nice for your pool for CC, yes, but it does not give you an ounce of extra damage. Not one bit of extra damage at all, because all of our stats are scaling off of spell damage and magicka. They are our highest resource and stat pushing bonuses. No stamina bonuses are going to affect our damage, so you don't have to go into vet to get this. You can have the normal version. Anyway, that aside, 2 crit damage bonuses, 2 crit chance bonuses, 1 minor slayer bonus for 5% extra damage in instances, and also your light and heavy attacks can stack up wins up to 10 and consistently stack so long as you maintain light attacks at least once every 5 seconds. If you cannot do that, take that set off, it's useless for you. But you will have to practice. In content, keep an eye on those ticks. If you are too far away from the target with your dual wield, if you've chosen to use it on the front bar, then of course you need to make sure you swap to the back bar and maintain light attacks or heavy attacks inside mechanics. If you're using the lightning staff, however, that's easy, because all you need to do is maintain a heavy attack, and that also works as effectively, if not more effective, than a regular light attack to maintain these stacks. So if you're running backwards or forwards or left or right or whatever, you can just hold heavy attack and keep the stacks up while you're coming back into the fight. So again, this is a practice thing. This is a set that is very difficult to apply in content. Most people can't actually do it, even though they show you nice dummy numbers. So it's a choice. If you can't use it, practice or take it off. If you can use it, great. It's going to give you a good single target. Now, overwhelming position-wise is on the front bar weapon and on 1, 2, 3 pieces of gear. So 3 light pieces there. Now, you can put this on the jewelry, but then you're going to skew if this a little bit. What we've done is we've got Reliquin on the legs and the chest, and also on 3 jewelry pieces. Yes, of course, you can swap these out, but bear in mind, we're trying to make sure that we can take advantage of our passives here. We want to have 3 light and 4 medium. So if you do jumble these up a bit and use the overwhelming jewelry, then you're in trouble because you're going to end up with 5 medium instead of 4. You could argue that you could change your monster set to light, but that still won't line up properly. Can you do it? Yes. Are you going to benefit from it? Not quite, because you're going to lose some penetration for the sake of 2% extra crit damage and weapon damage. So 4 medium, which is easily done here with 2 pieces on the body and the full monster set being medium. That way we can take advantage of using these on the jewelry. You get the idea. So whichever set you're using, whether it be Reliquin or the other one, which I'm now getting to, 3 on the jewelry, 2 on the body, and then 3 overwhelming with the weapon. Now, if you get stuck and you can only get 1 piece of jewelry, that's perfectly fine. You can still put 4 medium body pieces on, but you are going to have to swap out the monster set for light. That way it will balance out. So again, we still have 3 light and 4 medium. That's done on purpose. Now, the other sets that you can swap out for, we've already mentioned Elambris, which is incredibly fast proccing. This is what I would recommend for everybody overall. Azure Blight on single target will do slightly less than Reliquin if you can maintain Reliquin, yes. Azure Blight takes little to no effort to apply, and all you need to do is put damage over time on the target. Every single target that receives damage over time will start building up ticks, and when the ticks get to 20, they will explode. The more targets around, the bigger the boom per target that explodes. It's very, very fast-paced. It's got no cooldown now because they completely changed it, and it can fire in a crowd every half a second if all the stacks are built up. If the stacks aren't ready to fire yet because it's on a 0.5 second cooldown, it will still hold the stacks as long as you do damage. So basically just keep up your rotation, tick, 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 boom. You get the idea. Now on single target, technically, if you're talking about a rigged target dummy, this will do about 10k DPS less than Reliquin. However, add one add into the fight and you can get almost equal damage. Add 2 or 3 or 4 adds into the fight, this starts getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and you will outperform Reliquin all day long. So, if you're being realistic in content, most of the time you're not against a single target. There's always an ad in the room somewhere. So I would recommend Azure Blight for pretty much everything. Also has a nice stand bonus and recovery bonus as well, which you don't have to go and do perfected stuff for to get this. It's very, very powerful, but your tank needs to stack stuff. Simple as that. If stuff isn't stacked, you're going to get good damage. If stuff is stacked, you're going to get phenomenal damage. Strictly speaking, overall, you're looking at, on the target dummy, if you're experienced, somewhere between 105 and 112. No, it's not 130k, but we're using an active build here. We're not just cheesing it for the dummy. You're looking high end, about 112. In content, though, that can vary dramatically. And your peaks in your combat, when you actually get really, really high numbers during execute, which is what you're built for as a Templar, you can peak in excess of over 400k during that time. It's ridiculous. But your average DPS, you're looking at around the 100 to 112, depending on the player. Azure Blight is around sort of 95-ish, but as soon as you add an extra enemy into the room, especially in Ethereum Archive, when you've got like 3 axes on the boss, you're going way over what Reliquin could ever dream of. So, again, the choice is yours, but those are the variables to consider. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. That's going to be on the website anyway, so yeah, we're going on to skills. So, Purifying Light. This is from the Restoring Light skill line. No, it's not. It's from the Dawn's Wrath skill line. Good start. Third ability unlock. Starts off as Backlash, morph it to Purifying Light. So this attaches to the target, does a quick pop of direct damage. Then over the next 6 seconds, it calculates how much damage you've done to it. Now, over that period of time, you'll do up to 200% of that damage in a pop at the end. And also, when it pops, you will heal your allies nearby every 2 seconds for the next 10. You can only have one of these active at a time because it's bloody strong. But bear in mind that when it finishes, you get a heal, also counts for dead targets. So if it doesn't actually pop, but the target dies beforehand, it will put the heal on the ground. Keep this up indefinitely. It's very strong. Don't apply it too early, though, because you want to make sure it goes boom at the end. Beast Trap. Well, it's not even called Beast Trap. It's called Barbed Trap. But anyways, old habits die hard. Barbed Trap starts off as Trap Beast. Basically, put this under the target. It will give you -4, increasing your critical damage by 10%. Not only that, it will do an initial pop, which is bleed damage, with a high status chance for hemorrhage, which is another dot, and applies minor mangle, reducing the target's health by 10% if they're not a boss or elite enemy. Also, after that pop has happened, you have a 20-second damage over time bleed effect on the target, which again has a high status effect for hemorrhage, alongside the fact that the build's got high status chance anyway due to passives. So keep this up for your crit damage bonus and your damage over time. Radiant Oppression is a choice. Now, it's not a choice to have a different skill here, it's a choice to have a different morph. Dawn's Wrath, last ability to unlock, this is your execute, and this is very strong. Now, Radiant Destruction is how it starts. You've got 2 choices here. You've got Radiant Oppression, which has slightly more damage, and you've got Radiant Glory, which has very slightly less damage, but will heal you for 20% of every damage tick that you do. So at low health, this can get very, very aggressive. It will do up to 500% more damage. So you don't want to use this until about 40% left on the target, and then you can start weighing this in. The other version does 480% instead of 500, so there's barely anything in it. And in full testing, you can get lucky with some crits on either one of the morphs, and they can actually iron out to be the same DPS. So I would highly recommend that you use Radiant Glory instead, but this is just to demonstrate the difference between the two. If you have oppression during execute, you're probably going to die because you're taking damage. If you use glory, then you're going to heal a hell of a lot more than any healer can try to put out, and you can take their heals at the same time. Not to mention, obviously, Purifying Light being on the ground already, you get the idea. It's very hard to kill you. Speaking of hard to kill you, Puncturing Sweeps is what you use all the way up to 40%. So from 100% to 40% of the fight, you need this as your main spammable. Basically, starts off in the Adric Spear skill line as Puncturing Strikes, morph it to Puncturing Sweeps, and this over a 0.8 second channel will do damage in an 8x6 meter radius, or area, sorry, in front of you, constantly. You just jab, 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 start again, jab, 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 jab. But you need to weave a light attack between each one. So light attack, jabs, light attack, jabs. Now this will snare the enemies as well, which is not massive, but I mean it helps if the tank's trying to control stuff. But you will also heal for 34% of the damage done. Now the main target will take the most damage, the surrounding targets will take less, but you will heal off of all damage done regardless of how many targets there are. So just stab, 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 light attack, stab, 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 light attack. Repeat this process as your main spammable while maintaining the rest of your damage over time. Once the enemy is down to 40% health or lower, you stop using this and you use Radiant Glory or Radiant Impression instead. So that's your spammable until low health, then you change. Inner Light is here just for passives. We'll go over passives in a bit, but basically this does come with a bonus to it as well, which will allow you to have Major Prophecy at all times and Savagery on this bar and increase your maximum Magicka by 5%. You don't have to activate it, just leave it there. Technically speaking, we have Major Prophecy in our potions, but we wanted the spell damage, so it's something that's just there with us regardless. Also, you can change to tripods if you prefer, but the group needs to bring Major Sorcery for you, otherwise you won't get what you need. We do double bar that, obviously, so we've got the Prophecy, again, which is in the potions, unless they're down, but we get the 5% bonus on both bars. So 5% Magicka on this bar, 5% on that bar. Wall of Elements, technically a blockade or unstable wall of elements. So you've got blockade of fire, unstable blockade of fire. There's lots of different names for it while you morph it, but it will change depending on the staff you're holding. If you're holding a lightning staff, this will be unstable wall of storms. If you're using fire, it'll be unstable wall of fire. The difference is, if you're using a lightning staff, shock damage can cause concussion. If you cause concussion while inside this wall of elements, they will become off balance. Meaning anyone that's using a heavy attack will get 70% more damage out of it, and you'll get double resources back. That's very important. That's what you're there to do. If someone else is already doing that for you, you can use a flame staff instead, and any burning enemies inside that wall will make the wall do more damage. So that's the difference. You've got a small increase to damage on the flame wall versus the off balance bonus for the group, but it depends on whether it's there or not already. Your choice, those are the differences. Solar Barrage is in Dawn's Wrath. This is quite simple. It starts off as Solar Flare, morph it to Solar Barrage, lasts 22 seconds, which is very long, and it does damage every 2 seconds in an 8-meter radius around you. And while this is active, all of your class abilities are increased by 5%. Not only that, you will benefit from Empower, which increases your heavy attack damage by 70% should you need to use them. That also stacks with Off Balance, so yes, 70% for Off Balance, 70% for Empower. It's up to you when you use them, but if you do need to, that's a benefit. Keep this up at all times. It encourages extra damage for all of your skills outside of the weapon and guild skill lines, obviously. Channeled Focus needs to be on your bar also. This is the bottom of the Restoring Light skill line. Starts off as Rune Focus, morph it to Channel Focus, put this on the ground, and you will basically get Major Resolve for 25 seconds, and you will recover Magicka every 1 second, which is pretty substantial alongside the damage and return from Overwhelming, so this all stacks up quite nicely. While the rune is active, you heal for a percentage of your, well, it's based off a percentage of your max health, so that will fluctuate depending on your health at the time. I know it says 483 at the moment, but if you have more health, that will be higher. If you have less health on your build because you haven't got passives, that will be lower. So that varies based on how much health you actually have in total. But while standing in the rune, that heal is improved by 200%. Yes, it can crit, and yes, once it's got the stack and bonus of 200%, that can crit too. So if you're standing in your rune, you will get a bigger heal. If you're not standing in the rune, you will still get one regardless. So place that, keep your Magicka recovery up, keep yourself alive. Standing in that rune, whilst spamming Puncturing Sweeps or Jesus Beam, that's what we call it, if you've got the Glory Morph, basically you won't die to most mechanics. Now, for argument's sake, since it's been on the build before, yes, you can swap Solar Barrage for Ritual of Retribution if you prefer. So you've got that cleanse on tap for you and the group if you want. And you've got damage area of effect being applied to multiple targets, and it can scale. Technically speaking, on this particular build, the Solar Barrage did actually perform higher. It did more damage. But for the sake of utility, you can swap that skill out if you prefer. Blazing Spear is, of course, from the Adric Spear skill line. Fourth ability to unlock starts off as Spear Shards, morph it to Blazing Spear, not the other one. And this one will do more damage than the other one. The other one actually gives both resources back to your group rather than one or the other. But this one will do more damage for you. Place it on the ground, does damage in area of effect, direct damage in fact, and then applies damage over time to anyone standing in it. Do not let this run out. If you're at Execute, that's a different story. We'll go over that in the rotation. But for the consistent uptime of overall damage, especially your own passive bonuses, maintain this. Don't let it run out. Your main ultimates, front bar and back bar. I didn't go over these on purpose because I'm going to explain them both at the same time. The first one is a Fighters Guild ultimate, and this leads into passive, so we'll kind of skip into this bit. This is Flawless Dawnbreaker, starts off as Dawnbreaker. Make sure you get this version. This version, if you activate it, and I would highly recommend you do so at Execute only, you will gain an extra 300 weapon and spell damage, so your Execute will hit harder. Yes, you could use this in the middle of a fight, but honestly, it's a bit of an oh shit button for most people, especially the DK where you get resources back. For us, we don't really need to be firing this unless we are taking advantage of an increase to damage or we need some burst. Generally speaking, our damage is very, very high anyway. You want to take advantage of a hard-hitting ultimate throughout the consistency of most fights. And again, only use this at the end. The reason we have it on there full out is for the passives. So if you have Slayer, this will increase your weapon and spell damage just for being on the bar. We've got 2 Fighters Guild abilities, so we get 6% across the board. On the back bar, we obviously have none of that. On the front bar, it's there to just buff all of our damage without being touched. Again, during Execute, you can activate it. The rest of the time, don't bother. The rest of the time, you want the Mages Guild ultimate, which is Meteor morphed into Shooting Star. Every enemy you hit will give you 12 ultimate back, so in some situations, you can spam this. Just for firing it, it hits the enemies, it knocks them down, it puts a big damage over time on the ground as well. So throughout the fight, you want to keep up your damage over time throughout your rotation, keep up your main spammable, and utilize this ultimate. At Execute, you keep up a couple of dots, which I'll come to in the rotation, keep up your Jesus Beam, and keep up your Flawless Dawnbreaker. This to push this main skill, this to push everything else throughout. Now granted, you will need Mages Guild 10 for this, so if you don't have that at the moment, you can use a Destruction Staff ulti, but I would recommend getting it as soon as you possibly can. Since we're here, this reduces the cost of Mages Guild abilities. We're not using that really because obviously we're not using any skills apart from the ultimate, and that doesn't affect that. This will increase the duration of the skills. That does affect it, so the dot is longer. This will give you increased magicka and recovery for each skill on your bar. The front bar, we get an extra 4% magicka. On the back bar, we get 2 because we've got Inner Light on both bars, which is 1 bonus, and the back bar does actually have the Mages Guild ultimate. So we take a bit of a extra chunk of magicka on the back bar than we do on the front, but at least that fills the gap because we don't have Dawnbreaker on both. This is not important. This will give you Empower if you use a Mages Guild skill. Technically, that is tied to the ultimate, yes, but we have Empower all the time anyway, so we don't need it. So you don't need too many passives here. You just need the increase of duration and the recovery and flat magic bonus. Now, since we're already into passives now, that's where we're going. So, Adric Spear. If you have an Adric Spear ability slotted, you will increase your critical damage by 10%. And yes, that stacks with Minor Force. Bear in mind, you'll also go through block damage, block mitigation as well. That's more useful for PvP, but it's there regardless. Now, bear in mind, this does have a rule. You have to have an Adric Spear ability slotted. So on the front bar, we do have one. It's our Puncture and Sweeps. On the back one, we have Blazing Spear. We've got it on both bars. We never lose it. Minor Protection for 6 seconds, reducing the damage you take by 5% just for activating a skill. So if you activate this, as you can see down the bottom there on the right-hand side, there's a buff counting down. Every time you use it, it refreshes it. You've got Minor Protection all the time. During Execute, if you took advantage of Blazing Spear, which you can or cannot, it's up to you, then of course you get it there too. Very important loaded passive there. When you deal damage, you generate a stack of Burning Light for 3 seconds. After reaching 4 stacks, you will deal magic damage to your target. This effect can stack once every half a second and scales off of your highest offensive stats. So if we do damage with Blazing Spear or with Puncture and Sweeps, both of them can contribute towards the stacks to make Burning Light fire. It's a very powerful passive. You don't want to leave home without that. You need to get that as soon as you can. Increases your weapon and spell damage by 6% and increases your spell and physical resistances. Quite simple. Extra damage, extra survival. Dawn's Wrath is very important, obviously. Increases the duration of Sunfire, Eclipse, Solar Flare, and Nova abilities by 2 seconds. Technically, that does mean that Solar Barrage lasts 2 seconds longer than most of the skills. So, therefore, we actually line it up very nicely when we're trying to keep up our rotation with other skills that are maybe 10 or 20 seconds long. That one slightly overlaps, so we've always got it. It's got a longer duration. Casting Dawn's Wrath ability gives you 3 ultimate, and this will happen once every 6 seconds. Due to our rotation requiring this to be fired every 6, or for Solar Barrage to be kept up every 20 or 22, that's going to happen all the time. We're going to constantly maintain that. It's really helpful, and we can use ultimates more often. Casting a Dawn's Wrath ability, again, same rules, will give the group a bonus. Now, this bonus lasts for 20 seconds, so that's impossible to let that run out, and everyone will get 10% increased spell damage. So at the beginning, when you saw me with 5.9k spell damage, we've actually got a lot more, and then you can stack other bonuses on top. Reduces the health, magicka, and stamina, and ultimate cost of all your abilities. Get that, everything's cheaper. Restoring Light. This is actually quite useful. Increases the healing effects of your Restoring Light abilities by up to 12% in proportion to the severity of the target's wounds. So if you are using this and someone takes a synergy, they will heal for more if they've got low health. And the same applies to this rune focus for you. So do get that bonus. While standing in your own ritual or rune focus or rite of passage, yes, the rune that I told you to stand in for bigger heals, and 4 seconds after leaving it, you will gain minor mending. Again, that means that heal is higher. Also, the amount of damage that you can block is increased. So it's only for a short period of time or for the full duration of the skill if you stand in it. So basically, all you need to do is apply this and stay in it. Your block mitigation is higher. Your heals are much higher. If you leave it, you still maintain that for 4 seconds, but you've got to get back in if you want it back. It's a tricky one to explain, but hopefully that made some sense. If you heal an ally under 50% health, while with Restoring Light ability, you grant them 2 ultimate. That does also count towards you, so that is a nice one to have. I mean, technically, we're not healing anybody else, but they could take a synergy from this and heal, so they could benefit, but that's rare. However, you are going to get this. Also, while you are channeling Rite of Passage, which we're not using, they actually give you cap resistances during that time. We're not using it. You don't need it for that bonus, but you do need it for the extra ulti. Increases resurrection speed. We are the fastest reser on the field outside of a Necromancer ulti. Nobody can manually resurrect faster than a Templar. Also, when you resurrect them, they come back with 100% more health because they don't come back with full usually. And it gives you a chance to refill a soul gem for resing them. So I know you use one for resing them, but you can get it back. So if you've got an empty one in your pocket, you might fill it. Dual wield we're going to go over briefly because you can choose to use dual wield, but we're using the flame staff or lightning staff on the back, and we're using a lightning staff by choice on the front. So those ones are a bit more relevant, but if you do choose to use dual wield, obviously this is going to count for you. Increase the damage of dual wield abilities against monsters by 20% when they're under 25% health. That counts towards your light and heavy attacks, which you will need to weave in. These skills are irrelevant because you're not using them, but the light attacks and heavy attacks are being used. Increases weapon and spell damage of your offhand by 6% because the offhand does less normally. Reduces the stamina cost of abilities. You don't need that because we're not using them. Gives you a 15% damage bonus when attacking stunned, immobilized, disorient, or silenced enemies while using dual wielding attacks. So your lights and heavy attacks do more when they're CC'd. And also gives you bonuses depending on the weapon type. So we have taken advantage of 2 daggers for the most part, or you could use a sword and a dagger. Both combinations are very, very good and both equal to roughly the same sort of DPS, depending on how you build your entire character. But for this particular build, they're very, very, very close. So 1 sword and 1 dagger gives you extra spell damage and extra crit chance, or 2 daggers will give you a much higher crit chance. All of those bonuses are per weapon. Now the most important thing. Trifocus on the Destro staff was changed. We are using a lightning staff on the front bar. So our heavy attacks do splash damage to surrounding targets. However, they changed this. It still does do the big pop at the end in splash damage, so all targets will be affected by the same damage you hit the main target for. The channel ticks still do damage. The pop still does do damage in area of effect, but the ticks don't do damage in area of effect. So it'll be tick, 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 and then a big bang. The bang is what they all get hit by. In testing, I know people are really worried about this one, but in testing, the actual damage output is not that different. I know you don't have the ticks to splash with anymore, but as long as you finish your heavy attack, you will be rewarded by it. Most fights, in fact all fights, the boss will die last. The ads will die before the boss does. So the encounter duration is the same. You might just have to deal with ads for a little bit longer. However, this particular build wipes ads off the face of the earth anyway, so you won't worry about it. Anyway, make sure you finish your heavy attack if you want that pop. Technically speaking, yes, the Flame Staff does have a heavy attack bonus now where it applies a damage over time effect, and it can last 20 seconds, but micromanaging that is a ball ache, and you'll usually drop DPS because you're not using other abilities that you could be. But it's there if you want it. Spell Pen was changed for Destro Staff abilities, so your Wall of Elements, your light attacks, and your heavy attacks will actually have 2-9-7-4 spell resistance removal from the target, or ignorance if you like. You completely ignore it, which actually helps a lot whether you're solo or in a group. If there's not a caps resistance buff or bonus being applied, you can still hit harder than you did before. Before, it was an awkward percentage-based bonus, which technically made it a bit awkward, because if they had loads of resistance removal, then you wouldn't get much of a benefit. But if it had hardly any, then you get more. Now it's flat. It's exactly the same as Minor Breach, and they stack. Increases your chance of applying status effects. That's why we've got a charged weapon on the dual wield, because we're missing this bonus. But since we are using a Destro Staff, we're not missing the bonus, and you have to just hold one. We're holding one on both bars, we get the bonus on both bars. Your Inferno Staff obviously now increases damage over time. Now this is misunderstood by lots of people. Damage over time and status effects are enhanced by 12% while you are holding a Flame Staff. As soon as you swap bars to a Lightning Staff, you no longer have that benefit. So yes, you can fire a Flame Wall of Elements and swap bars. But now you benefit from the weapon you're holding. So the skill can still be fire, but it won't get fire passives because you're not using the Flame Staff. So when you switch to the Lightning Staff, you get a different bonus. So if you're on the back, all your damage over time and status hit harder. If you're on the front, anything that you channel or cast and is direct damage will do more. So the Jesus Beam, for example, is a channeled damage over time. Both the Lightning and the Flame Staff give the same bonus. Puncture and Sweeps, however, is not damage over time. It is a channeled direct ability. The Lightning Staff benefits from direct and channeled skills. It doesn't matter whether your target, whether your skills are single target or area of effect anymore. That doesn't matter. What matters is the type. So whether it's single target or area of effect, if it's dot or status, fire enhances it. If it's channel or direct, lightning enhances it. And our build is full of direct stuff. We have got damage over time as well, which is great. And we will benefit from that when we swap bars occasionally. But generally speaking, most of the stuff we do will always be boosted on our front bar. The only one that won't is the damage over time from the bleed on the Beast Trap. But the actual proc initially is direct. Purifying Light is direct. Jesus Beam is channeled. Puncturing is channeled. The rest of them, I mean, that's got a direct when it first hits, but it's going to be on the wrong bar anyway. And this is also a damage over time. Now, I know people want to go flame. You can if you want, but you're not going to benefit from the overall damage from puncture and sweeps. You're just going to push the dots instead. And it kind of balances out eventually, but it makes it very, very difficult if you want to channel a heavy attack, because a Flame Staff heavy attack is a bit crap. Yes, of course, you've got the dot that you can take advantage of, but it's going to have holes. Whereas the Lightning Staff heavy can just channel, pop. Big difference, especially for accessibility. So, Lightning front, Flame back. Is that all of them? No, missed one. Here we go. When you kill someone with the Destro Staff, or an enemy, you get 3,600 Magicka back. And that's all you need to know. So, light attack, heavy attack, or Wall of Elements. Now, light armor and medium armor have been taken advantage of, and we've deliberately mixed 3 and 4. So, 3 light, 4 medium. The 4 medium, obviously for recovery purposes and for crit damage and spell damage purposes. So we've got a bonus for each individual one that we have. So that will give us a nice balance across the board, alongside a decent amount of magical recovery, reduction to cost, and of course, spell penetration and crit chance. Spell penetration is 939 per piece, so we've got almost 3k there. Really, really handy stuff and a really nice balance across the board. And generally speaking, most people use 5 light because they want to be able to use a damage shield. We don't need one. No heavy at all. I wouldn't recommend putting one on. Yes, of course, you could take advantage of the 511 bonus from the Undaunted, which is here, but we don't need to, and you will actually lack penetration, spell damage, and crit damage when you're trying to optimize for groups. So, 3 light, 4 medium. You can mix around as much as you want, but that one was more optimized than other variants of it. Also, take all the synergies because you'll get bonuses for it. We didn't skip those because we did them already. That's it for those. And we are, of course, a high elf. Do you have to be a high elf? No. No, you don't. But if you are, if you use a Magicka ability, once every 6 seconds, you will get 625 stamina back, which fills your CC pool, which is nice. Not to full, but it helps maintain it, alongside its recovery. Also, if you're using a channeling ability, which we always are, heavy attack, Jesus Beam, Puncture and Sweeps, it's always a channel. You will take less damage while casting. We get a maximum magic bonus of 2k, and we get weapon and spell damage of 258. You can use any race you like in the game. It's not going to make or break the build. Just understand the basic passives that you have, and you might have to alter accordingly. Failing that, you might not need to alter at all. You might not even notice. Alchemy, of course, medicinal use. We are using expensive potions. They are spell pots, which give you major sorcery, major prophecy, and major intellect. So you've got recovery and crit chance and spell damage. Crit chance is not that important, obviously, because we've got it on both bars, but the spell damage and the recovery is. Do not let your potions run out. This bonus will allow those potions to last 47 seconds. Now, champion points. I haven't slotted all of these, actually. The blue ones I have, the others I haven't. You don't need crit chance bonuses, because if you're in an... well, I hate this word, but if you're in an optimized situation, as vaguely as that is put, you will actually not need the crit chance because you're almost cap. If you take Wrathful Strikes, Deadly Aim, Thaumaturge, and this one here, Untamed Aggression, you'll actually balance out between your single target, your damage over time, and your flat everything. So having a good weapon and spell damage bonus from here and here, alongside single target for lights, Jesus Beam, Power of the Light, and damage over time for everything else that your lightning staff is not pushing, that worked out higher than any other combination on this particular build. Other builds may vary. This one, that's the outcome. Now, what you need to do is understand how to unlock these. So this, first of all, doesn't require any prerequisites. You can get it straight away. So just unlock it. Put 10 points in it. Nice and easy. This here, 10 points into this will unlock this tree. Grab that. And this one here, just a few points into here, will unlock these and get these two. Your slottables are what's important. All the yellow ones you can unlock in your own time. Every build will have every single one of them. But you need Wrathful Strikes, Untamed Aggression, Deadly Aim, and Thaumaturge. Those are the 4 you need. Red tree, missing one actually. In fact, our health is higher than I thought because I missed one. So I'll just show you where you need to go pathwise. 15 in there. 10 in here. Unlock this health bonus. Then you want to make sure that you have this here, Siphon and Spells. And slot it. That's a very important path you need to take. The rest of it you can unlock in your own time. Outside of that, there are 3 here. Recovery, Armor, and Health. Those 3 don't require any prerequisites. You can get them straight away. Easy peasy. Green ones, completely irrelevant. These don't support any builds in any way, shape, or form. They support quality of life. Now, you could argue that some things are helpful in combat, so we'll go over the ones that are. Steed's Blessing, technically, is for out of combat, but you could argue, while in an instance, if you've just killed everything and everything is dead and you're not in combat anymore, you can now run faster to the next fight. Fair enough, I would slot that. This here has a chance to not even consume a potion, and they're expensive, so you'll still gain from it, but you won't actually use it, so you've got a free pot. This will enhance the duration of your food, so then you can take advantage of really expensive stuff and make it last longer, and this will get you higher quality loot from chests. So you could have more than one item at a time. This is all quality of life, 100% irrelevant when it comes to actual DPS of your build, but it's quite nice to have regardless. Rotation. So, very simply put, keep your rune up. If it's a standstill fight, stand in it. If you have to move, move, but then get back in it again. In the meantime, your wall must be down, your solar barrage must be up, and your beast trap must be down. So when you're walking into a brand new fight, have this running already, have your solar barrage running, throw a spear in, put a wall down, and get your beast trap in. Or, if it's a standstill fight and nobody started yet, beast trap, swap, and then start putting your lots down. Essentially, once they're running, it's now time to get into your rotation. So what you need to do first of all, ignore the numbers because he is triggered way too early. Beast trap, spears, wall, barrage, swap bars. Light attack, purifying light. Light attack jabs 4 to 5 times. Light, jabs, light, jabs, light, jabs. Until Power of the Light is about to run out. Purifying light, rather. This one. So you light, fire that. Light, beast trap, swap. So to simplify again, Out of the light. Purifying light, I keep calling it that. Up to 5 jabs, if you can fit them. Light jab, light jab, light jab, light jab. Recast that. Light beast trap swap. Now, that will sometimes overlap, so you need to keep an eye on your ability timers on the purifying light. If it's still running, don't cast it. If it's run out, squeeze it in. Apart from that, that's pretty much it. By the time you've done 5 to 6 jabs on the front bar and reapplied your beast trap to swap, your spear and your wall will be ready again. Purifying light. Jab, jab, jab. Until it runs out. Recast. Beast trap swap. Your skills are ready to fire. Now you just go straight into jabs until that's ready. Reapply it. If it runs out, you can recast it, but failing that, if you get to 5 to 6 jabs, light beast trap swap. Spear, wall, swap bars. Now, you'll notice that I didn't introduce solar barrage. That is because you want to cast that every second rotation. So we'll start from the very beginning. Beast trap down. Spear shards, wall, barrage, swap. Light attack, purifying light. Light attack jabs 5 times. Light attack purifying light again. Light beast trap swap. Repeat. Spear, wall, swap. If purifying light is ready, cast it. If it's not, leave it. You want to fit in 5 jabs on that bar between reapplying the purifying light. Once you've done 5 or 6, keep an eye on the timers on the back bar. I'll show you again here. You can see the timers, the yellow bars. If they're running out, beast trap swap, reapply them. Again, you have to make sure that you reapply solar barrage every second time you go to the back bar. Not every time, because you'll be there too long. Now, if you wanted to keep it really simple, you can, of course, not keep an eye on the timers and just listen to this very carefully and don't change it, and it will work just fine. So what you do is you go up to the boss and you place your beast trap, you swap bars, and you put down your back bar 3 dots. So your spear, your wall, and your solar barrage. Bear in mind, you've got to be fairly close for solar barrage to connect, but it will still give you the bonuses nonetheless. Then you swap to the front, purifying light, and then 5 jabs, beast trap, swap, start again. So that would look like this. If it wants to fire, yay lag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, beast trap swap, spear, wall, swap, purifying light, 5 jabs again. In the second rotation, you want to recast solar barrage. Light beast trap swap. 1, 2, introduce solar barrage, purifying light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, beast trap swap, spear, wall, no solar this time, light, carry on. 2, 3, 4, 5, beast trap swap. This time you do need it. After the wall, pop it and swap bars, and continue. Now again, that is entirely up to you. If you want to keep that static rotation and never ever change it, that's not an accurate gauge of DPS. There's no ultimates, no nothing. But that will be absolutely fine. You will maintain a decent rotation. You won't get confused, and everything will flow perfectly. But if you do want to be a little more complex, like I said at the very beginning, you can introduce a new purifying light every time it runs out. One at the beginning of the rotation, one at the end. Beast trap swap, back bar stuff, come back. If it's ready, fire it. If it's not ready, wait and squeeze it in between the jabs. That will overlap quite heavily, but if you can keep an eye on the timers, then great. And the way to do that is here. Options, combat, ability bar timers on, ability bar on the back bar timers on. That way, if you do something like this, you can see the timer on it. And if I swap bars, it shows me a little yellow loading bar. That's how you maintain those. So again, I would recommend highly that if you're new to this, that you just basically keep to the static rotation where you just recast your back bar 2 dots, use your stabs on the front alongside purifying light, and after 5 or 6 of them, beast trap swap, start again. Reintroduce solar barrage every second rotation. That's nice and easy. You never have to worry about it. If you get better at it and you want to track timers, then of course you can overlap purifying light between your jabs and just reintroduce it every time it runs out and get a lot more damage. Up to you though. No major changes to that needed if it's not necessary. Now execute, by the way, lower than 40% health on the main bosses. You want to make sure that you are introducing your execute. So you take away your jabs. You don't use it anymore. So you need to maintain beast trap, wall of elements, and solar barrage. Solar barrage for the 5% increase to your Jesus beam, and wall of elements to keep reintroducing that glyph over time. So if you do that, you will basically be doing this. Light attack Jesus beam. Over and over and over until the back bar stuff is about to run out. Light, beast trap, wall, solar barrage, continue. Now the damage is going to be very low on this because the health is high and it scales on lower health, but this is all you need to do. Again, it's going to run out, beast trap, reapply the wall. And repeat. You will need to reintroduce solar barrage once every second rotation, and the wall every rotation. So this is the second one. Do that, carry on. And that's it. That's all you need to do. Now, obviously, at high health, that's going to be a much lower damage output, but it's still pretty high. Ultimate-wise, Meteor all the time. Dawnbreaker during execute. So the full rotation will be on the website. Don't worry, it's not as intimidating as it first looks. It's actually quite simple to get into. Once you get that flow, it's really nice. But the execute is the easiest part. It's just beast trap, wall, solar barrage, spam Jesus beam. Every single time you swap bars, beast trap, wall, Jesus beam. That has to be maintained. Even though this dot is not run out yet, or has not run out yet, you reapply that pop, and it does actually increase your DPS. Anyway, now it's time for fashion. So we are using the Seisi hat, just like before, the light one. I can't pronounce that, but you can see what that is on the screen. I'm never going to pronounce it. Just say arc and then sneeze or something like that. That's a heavy one. The Dragon Guard Pauldrons, that's also heavy. Dramathra gloves in light. Dramathra belt in light. Apostle greaves, that's heavy legs. Dramathra shoes in light. And of course the Ebon Shadow staff. It's green at the moment, glowing because it's got a poison glyph on it. If you change the glyph, that would be different. And of course the Dramathra staff on the back. The back doesn't really matter, it just is a way to differentiate between the two, so you know that you're on a different bar if you're not looking at your skills. Color-wise, this is easy. It's all black. That's it. And of course the skin is from Depths of Malatar, and if you want that particular guide, if you're stuck there, that is in the description below. So thank you all very much for watching. I hugely appreciate support. If you are not subscribing already, please do hit that button. It is free, and don't forget to hit the notification bell because that is how you know when new videos go live. If you're not following on Twitch or social media, there's links for that in the description below as well. Thank you very much indeed again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.